Hello there. Today I'm continuing my look at some of the great value wines you can get from the 2019 vintage with a look at Château Sénéjac, which is an Haut Medoc wine. Haut Medoc can cover several areas actually, sort of both at the top, in the middle and at the bottom of the Medoc. Sénéjac is in a place called Pian, which is at the south of the Medoc, south of Margaux, between Margaux and the outskirts of Bordeaux itself. Not surprisingly, given its location, there's been an estate here since about the 1500s, but it probably wasn't until the 1800s that they started growing grapes here. It was owned between 1860 and 1999 by the Guillard, or the de Guillard family. And the estate actually had quite a reputation for producing white wines. No white wine is produced there anymore at all these days. But in 1999, the estate was sold to Lorraine Cordier, who at that stage was running Chateau Talbot, her family's chateau in Saint Julien, a fourth growth, very well known wine estate. When Lorraine died in 2011, the property, along with Chateau Talbot, passed to her sister Nancy Bignon Cordier, who currently runs it with her family. The estate has about 41 hectares of vines, conveniently located in a single plot, or predominantly located in a single plot. There may be one or two other smaller areas of vines, but most of them condensed in one area. The soils are, there's a sort of a low hill in Le Pian, so a gravel hill over a clay subsoil. I believe there's quite a bit of quartz in the gravel there, which helps with heat retention. This particular wine is a blend of 51% Cabernet Sauvignon, there's 30% of Merlot, 11% of Cabernet Franc and 8% of Petit Verdot in here. 2019, quite a nice ripe vintage, and I'm expecting that we'll see that Petit Verdot giving some sort of ripeness and richness to the wine. The fermentation takes place in, they've got 17 stainless steel thermo-regulated fermenting tanks. Aging takes between 12 and 15 months in French oak, about a third of which is new. The vineyards, I should have said, all these days are farmed using biodynamic practices. It's an estate that's receiving a certain amount of attention to try and ensure reasonable quality at the moment. So let's have a look at the wine, shall we? You've got a good depth of colour. That's a dark ruby red, not particularly, and maybe a tiny touch of purple. It's more mauve at the rim, but more on the sort of the reddish spectrum there. Looking down at it, it's not quite opaque. There's a good depth of dark black ruby colour there, but no, not quite the opacity. The wine is 14.5% alcohol, as is evidenced by the fact that there are tears running down the glass. It's not a huge point, but and now for the aromas. The aromas have a lifted cassis leaf note, and then behind that there's cedriness and perhaps an earthy touch. The cedar is quite an exotic high tone sort of spice. There are touches of perhaps cinnamon on the top note of that, but that cedary element is rather closing up the fruit at the moment, I'm afraid. Let's have a taste then, shall we? The wine is well structured and it has good fresh acidity, and the combination of tannins and acidity is really making my mouth water at the moment. There's quite a drying note at the front of the mouth. I can feel the roof of my mouth is dry with some quite fine oaky cedary tannins there. It's not quite as stringent. There is just enough sort of black, perhaps black cherry fruit there, but it's black cherry moving on to a more savoury note, perhaps even to a note of concentrated sort of bitter licorice there. The notes of oak are fairly to the fore, but it's clean oak, it's very fine grained oak, giving structure to the wine. The acidity, as I say, has some freshness. It's not particularly high. It's not lifting the finish particularly. It's much more on the front of the mouth where there was a sort of a tartness and there was more interaction with the tannins. To the finish, there's more richness, roundness. The 13.5% alcohol is sort of filling that out and giving it a bit of warmth and weight. Seemingly more so than 13.5% alcohol. I wonder whether it's just a tiny fraction higher than that. The tannins they're ripe, but they're not particularly supple. They're giving a very fine structure to the wine that should enable it to age reasonably well. Certainly 5 or 6, probably 8 to 10 years, without any issues, I'd have thought. This wine ideally needs a little bit of time to smooth out for the grip of the tannins to settle. But actually, there's quite a nice long finish. I'm saying that maybe the acidity could be a touch higher, but there's just a touch of it on the finish there that's leaving some sort of lifted red plummy fruit coming through there. So this is Château Sénéjac 2019 from the Haut Medoc. What I'd say about it is it's well made, it's structured for aging, it's currently a little closed. It has a warmth, a richness and a ripeness to it. The acidity is a little soft, the alcohol's a little warm, and the finish is sort of rich and almost a touch meaty rather than having a black curranty freshness. The black currant fruit is really only visible slightly on the nose. On the palate, it's much more of a sort of a ripe cherry, almost through to black olive and perhaps bitter licorice notes on the finish there. The wine's got good intensity. It has a reasonable balance, and I think would offer some very nice drinking in a few years' time. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this is useful to you. I hope you'll follow our YouTube channel, and I hope you'll like and share the video. But most importantly, I do hope you join us again. Thank you for watching. Bye now.